Hi, welcome to Shell's Pearls of Wisdom. I am here with another beautiful pinup. Her name is Hannah, A.K.A
Hannah Bell.
Hannah Bell and I have actually done this rodeo once before, so we are old pros at this now. I know Hannah Bell through the scene, definitely got a lot of good feedback about your hair skills and that endeavor that you're going into. She works closely with the photography studio Focal Points in Iowa City. So if after here you love her beautiful hair, her suicide roll that she's got going on, she does do this for a living. Not only that, but she has a tremendous story about overcoming a lot of trials and tribulations growing up and having to deal with a lot of obstacles to get over. So we're gonna get talk a little bit about that, and then also get into all of her many accomplishments as a pinup. She holds many titles, and she's passed on many titles. So we'll get into that too. How are you doing today, Hannah?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I am up and here, so I'm obviously doing something right.
Yeah, I'm up.
I'm here. I'm on this side of the dirt, so we did something right this morning. So yeah, let's talk about you a little bit. Like, where are you from?
Yorkville, Illinois. I didn't grow up here. I moved here because of my fiance. I grew up in a little town about an hour from here, in kind of the middle of nowhere.
Okay, and how do you like Illinois? Or were you in Wisconsin before, or have you always lived in Illinois?
No, I've always been in Illinois.
Okay, so you just
I was born in Missouri, but
I did not know that. What part of Missouri?
Richmond Heights, which is a St. Louis like suburby area.
Let me tell you, we were born in the same area, girlfriend. I was born in St. Louis.
Awesome.
That's probably why I like you so much. Got that Missouri blood going through you. Okay. Now I'm seeing some correlations now. Okay. So let's talk about when you were younger. You told me that you had a lot of things that happened while you were in your adolescence that kind of shaped you to who you are even today.
Yes.
So where would you like to start?
Well, my childhood started a lot of stuff started in my early childhood. My parents divorced, which when I was, I want to say about three and a half, 4, around that time. That was a pretty amicable split. My father had drug issues, drug dependency issues, and he also had mental health issues. So my parents decided their relationship was not the best. They did rush into marriage because they got pregnant with me, and my mom being a good Catholic girl, it was more or less when are you getting married? Not that. They did love each other, so it really wasn't like they just were like, okay, we're just gonna get married. We love each other. They realized they're better off as friends, and because of his drug dependency issues, it was not a really good situation. My father was a good father despite his issues. He did the best he could. Around, I want to say 5, 6, the drug task force raided his house while I was with him. We're pretty sure that's what my PTSD stems from, amongst other traumatic issues.
Stemming from that. When you went through that, because you being home, I remember just the fact of, you said like environments with like loud noises and like abrupt things happening really do like rattle you to this day because of like how it was so like forceful and abrupt and just loud and
I will say the police officers and the people that were there, they did treat me with respect because I was a child. But I do to this day fear authority figures. Police officers do scare me at times, even though I have friends who are law enforcement, who are in law enforcement. I have like no reason to fear them at times because they're just doing their job, but it just takes me back to that. My father was doing something wrong.
Traumatized if I saw something like that happen to someone I love, because it's just you feel helpless too, because there's nothing you can do about it.
They put me in a police car. They had to ask, I don't remember the questions they asked me, but I remember being asked a couple of questions. It wasn't intrusive questions.
Okay.
My mom assured me that they weren't intrusive questions because I have a vague memory of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, they don't usually ask a question a minor unless you have a parent that can.
My dad was with me.
Okay.
They had him handcuffed and with me.
Okay.
Because my father was being super cooperative. I ended up later on, when we helped my grandfather clean out a storage unit, I ended up seeing the documents from it, and he was like, yeah, this is what's happening.
Right.
He wasn't like, no, this isn't what's going on. He's just like, yeah, what's happening.
He didn't fight the system. He just went along with it.
He was like, I was caught. Like, what was I supposed to do?
Right.
That's like what the paper said. We ended up destroying it because it wasn't something I wanted to have or read, or why keep something like that?
Right. It's not good memory.
But then my mom and my stepdad came and got me like immediately as soon as like they got a hold of them. But
do you remember like how you felt after everything was done? I know you say you have very vague memory, but do you just remember how it left you feeling?
I was confused, I know, as a child, because I didn't really understand 100%. They had to explain to me what was kind of going on. And that age, you couldn't really 100% grasp. I remember afterwards trying to look through his apartment for drugs because I was curious, because I didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand.
You probably didn't understand like even what was so wrong with it. Like you probably just couldn't grasp the concept of any of it.
No, but I just knew it was not good, and it was my dad had a problem.
Right. Did he ever have to serve time based on that raid?
In he was in county. It happened. This was still, I think he was still in the police, like in the court proceedings, still in the time that led up to his death. I'd have to ask my mom, because I never really went too much into it of like what happened, because I do believe he was still, because I know right before he passed, he had been in county also, and he had served a certain amount of time. My mom never took me to go see him while he was in county.
That was my next question, if you ever had to visit him in jail.
My mom would not allow me.
You regret her not taking you, or are you thinking that was for the best?
It was for the best, but I think it was a decision between the both of them, because I don't think he wanted me to see him. Okay. That was not I don't think that was an environment he wanted me to see him in. I do remember getting a call from him, and I know I never answered the phone, so I never heard county jail, because I wasn't made aware until later that he was ever in jail. I was always told, your dad's away. Like they would always tell me he's in England, because that's where my Nana was at. So it would always tell me he went away to England. So it was very much hidden from me. So,
okay. So as a child, I'm just trying to think about just being a kid myself. If my parents were to tell me, my mom or my dad to tell me that my other parent left to go somewhere far, in my mind, I think I would be just hurt that why didn't I get taken with, or why did he leave? Did you have any of those feelings since you didn't know the truth? Did you question why he left?
No, because he would go visit my Nana occasionally. Gotcha. And at the time, still in the 90s, it wasn't like now that we would have video chat, and it wasn't like I could just Skype my Nana at any point in time, and it was still really expensive to call long distance home.
Yeah.
So I really didn't question or think anything of it out of the ordinary. Mm-hmm. So that, like, now in retrospect, it was kind of deceptive and also an easy way to protect me.
Yeah. I mean, I know, unfortunately, I have a few situations of girlfriends who actually went through something very, very similar. And they would say something like, well, your dad's at war, or they would say that, he's doing really important work and he has to go out of state, out of country. And I always know that it's really good at that moment. Like it's a good idea at that moment. But unfortunately, I've seen in just my later years, watching those same children grow up and be adults now, have a lot of questions, have a lot of problems, have a lot of issues with it because they're just like, I get why you did it, but still, they feel like in some deep part of them that they deserve to know the truth too. So it's like this balance of like protecting your child and being truthful with your kid. It's a really hard decision as a parent, just to know what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
You did mention that your father is deceased now.
Yes.
What happened to him?
He had a overdose a few months prior to his death, where he did survive. His friends just dropped him off at the ER, and they were able to revive him. His family, my family came and tried to talk. My mom could put out a distress call, and they came and they tried to talk some sense into him, tried to get him to go to rehab. He wouldn't. Life went on. Then he ended up getting incarcerated again for a while for something. It might have been related to that. I haven't asked what it was, but I know he was incarcerated for a while. And as soon as he got out, he went immediately to see my Nana. My Nana said that it was an emotional, him saying goodbye, I'm going to die. And she tried to come with him, come home. She came to the airport with him, and she had her passport in her pocket and was trying to come with. She's like, I'll come with. And she's told me now that she knew that it was only going to be a matter of weeks, and she was going to get a call and he was going to be dead, whether he was going to kill himself or he was going to relapse, because he relapsed, he detoxed while he was in county. And so he was still kind of having issues while he was there. And he came home, and it was within 2 weeks. He was with some friends. We've finally got the story throughout the years, because no one would ever tell the truth. He was given he somehow got a hot dose. It was heroin and ecstasy. And
tell me what hot dose is for people that don't know that terminology.
Right now, the thing is usually people get fentanyl in heroin, which usually is not an actual dose of heroin. It's mixed with something. And in the 90s, sorry, my nose is very itchy from allergies.
You're fine.
In the 90s, there was around this time, it was coming from Chicago. It was a lot. It had ecstasy in it, and that was killing people. And it was only a little bit that in his system, and it got him, and he had sleep apnea. So his friends thought that he was just sleeping, and they realized in a panic that he wasn't sleeping, and so he wasn't at home. They took him back to his apartment, threw him in his bedroom, and didn't tell anybody for 2 weeks that he was dead.
Oh my God.
And so there was actually a huge investigation trying to figure it out, because it came back that later that he was involved with this bigger drug kingpin in Chicago. So we've never fully come back that if it was something to do with that, and that they thought he snitched, because I believe some of his charges might have been from dealing because he had a problem, but we've never got it. It's been a really big mystery, and it's been because it took one of my mom's friends getting a girl who was there drunk and getting her to kind of tell the story of what happened for us even to figure out that he was at a party and they got him there. It wasn't even the cops finding that out.
Well, that is just a lot to take in even as an adult now. So I could not even fathom how this was for you as a youngster. That's just crazy. So you said that your mom did the best that she could also with everything that was circling around and going down. How were you in school and friends and having that normalcy?
My school experience was never normal. because shortly after my father's passing, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder because I was put into counseling immediately after his death, because my mom, being a social worker, she didn't want her 7.5-year-old dealing with that type of grief, especially because I only kind of understood what was happening.
Right.
And then within the testing, my therapist and counselor was like, we should probably do some more advanced testing. That's not normal how she's acting. I had kids that would make fun of me because my father was dead. They didn't know how he died. I kind of hid that for a very long time because I was embarrassed. But kids would make fun of me. I cried. I had emotional issues in school. I couldn't handle a lot of things when I'd get stressed or anxious. The 90s were not very good for kids with any sort of learning disabilities or accommodations. It was horrible. I got shuffled around into some special ed classes that were definitely not what I needed.
Right. No, I'm so glad that people are more aware of mental disorders in children these days, because like you said, you were put into situations that were not correct for you and did not help you. It might have even made things worse.
It did.
So when was it that you got into the right kind of regimen, the right kind of program?
Well, I was on medications and younger, but my mom finally pushed for an IEP when I was in 8th grade, which retrospect was a really long time.
Yeah,
but
from 7 years old to about 12.
Yeah,
that's
it also took me finally being like, no, I need help. Like, I need something. I don't want to deal with this.
How old were you when you said that? Like, no, I need help. I need something.
It was about 8th grade. Like, I need something. Like, whether it be just test accommodations, a way out when I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah. Once you got that accommodations and your mom pushed like a good mom should, like she was your advocate in pushing for it, did that help?
Yes, it did. And I never had really an issue with teachers following it. I know other people have not always been so lucky with that. My teachers were always on board with like doing that. I had special accommodations. If I was overwhelmed, I could get up at no questions asked, leave the room, go to the office, sit, calm down, come back. If I needed extra time, a test reader, I had it. I had a book that monitored my behavior in class. I had to have every teacher sign it off. And at the end of the week, if I met my behavior goals, I got a reward.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad that, when things started to fall into place, it did help. That took us through junior high. How was high school with this?
High school, like, I had the typical growing pains because I had issues, obviously, with bullying, because grade school, I had really bad issues with bullying.
Was it the same children that followed from grade school that bullied in high school too, or was this like a new set of kids?
A mix. Like, the ones that were really bad in early junior high and grade school, they kind of just left me alone, but it was a mix of new ones because I did at times have some emotional issues. So it was a new brand of kids being like, oh, you're really different. But I was in classes that were geared for me. And I had those in place. It wasn't until like my junior year that I started finding friends that loved me for me. And it was great. Started finding my tribe.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. It's then my junior year, we decided to do away with my IEP because I was doing great. But I could always still go in the office if I needed it. needed to. If I was overwhelmed, there was some time in my senior year that I had to go in there and there was still no questions asked.
That's awesome. That's really good. Are any of these friends that you met your junior year still in your life today?
No.
Oh.
No, absolutely not.
No? So not even your friends that you made?
No, when I got sick in my early 20s, they didn't want to hang with someone who was having issues.
Yeah. So that kind of gives us right into the next, cycle of it. What were your early onset health issues that you were experiencing in your early 20s?
Well, as I said, I was diagnosed with bipolar when I was younger. I had been on medication on and off. My mom took me off of medication, which you shouldn't really do. I understand her reasoning in retrospect. When your child looks like an emotional zombie, because again, 90s, there wasn't much that there is there now.
Yep.
So like lithium is going to make an 8 and 9-year-old be an emotional zombie.
Yep.
So
like
again,
walking living dead there.
Yeah. So I get her reasonings behind it. Also, it just didn't help during a hormonal changes that it just skyrocketed everything.
The balance was like topsy-turvy. You were probably going up and down all the time.
Yeah. My first year out of high school, I went to the community college in town. I was very lonely. I started noticing some of my learning issues coming back. The school helped me. I missed my friends so much. I ended up transferring the next year to Carthage College in Kenosha, Wisconsin, because I did like the campus, and 2, my high school best friend was there. It was fine the first year. I didn't have much in the way of issues, I would say, per se. Normal college issues of adjusting to being without family, figuring out how to be a college student in general.
Yeah.
That's not at home.
Trying to be independent growing up, just that whole entire emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. Again, not medicated.
Yeah, I was about to say, and you have that on top of not having the right medicine, so that's even 5 times worse.
Yeah, trying to hide that I even had these issues. At this time, I did not want to disclose to many people that I even had these issues, nor did I really want to admit to myself that I had these issues.
Okay. Can I ask you a question before you go on? Yeah. Did you not want to admit it because you didn't want people to look at you any differently? You wanted them to see the Hannah that you wanted to portray, not the Hannah that was there?
Yeah, I didn't want the stigma, mainly the stigma of it, of you're crazy.
If you felt more comfortable in your skin back then, because I definitely think it's gotten better where people are more accepting of mental disorders and stuff. Would that have made a big difference in your life if you felt though you could tell people the truth and you could be open and honest with that?
Yeah. I had 100%. If I was able to, and I feel like the education was there, that is becoming now more prevalent in society, that wasn't there like 6-7 years ago, even like now, because it was very shameful for me.
Yeah, I wanted people in the out there to realize that being knowledgeable is really a good thing for people that are suffering with any disability, because the first thing that we think of, and I say we because I also suffer with bipolar disorder as well, is they're not going to understand, and a lot of things are going to come across wrong because they just don't understand. So sometimes ignorance is not bliss. You should educate yourself. You should be informed, because there's so many different disorders. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many other ones. And I feel like our children, our youth would have so much of a more healthy environment if teachers, parents, society just taught more about what this is, so that children like Hannah growing up don't have to feel like they can't be who they are or ashamed of who they are, because it makes a very emotional roller coaster and very hard. And now, even as an adult, you still have to carry on that burden from even when you were younger.
Yeah. It would help a lot, would have helped a lot with my interpersonal relationships, of people thinking of like, you can't handle anything right, you can't do this, you're always flying off the handle. And like, I'll admit that, bipolar aside, I don't sometimes have the best stress management, but there's sometimes I really can't help it.
Yeah.
But college, that first year, it was okay. I made the very, very wrong decision to, rush and pledge a sorority. That didn't help.
I hate sororities. Oh my God. Yeah.
I have a wishy-washy feeling about them. They're good for some people. I wish I wouldn't have done the one I did. If I could go back and change it, I might have waited until the following year to do it, when I was a little more adjusted. Mm-hmm. It took a lot out of
your freshman year.
It would have been my because technically sophomore year, but my first transfer year. Carthage doesn't allow you to rush until the spring semester of like your first year. Mm-hmm. But I would have waited because it took a lot out of me. You didn't really sleep because you had to memorize all this stuff. Because I was pledging a local sorority, so it wasn't like a national, where a lot of the nationals on campus were, yay, you're in, you pay your money, and here you're done. And whereas you're pledging a local one, they have a pledging process. You got to follow everything. So yeah, on top of
hazing, did they haze anything?
The hazing wasn't until the following year, when I started leading up to my first suicide attempt. I was hazed as an active. Because the girl, I
thought you only got hazed when you were pledging, not when you're active.
Not necessarily. The girls, my line sisters, did not like me. They wanted me out. So they.
Oh wow.
It was not pleasant, and we were small, and it was bad. It was stressful.
So, I mean, I can hear in your voice that this is something that brings back some pretty,
yeah,
I can just hear your tone switching. I won't have you talk too much into it, just because I don't want to bring out too many trigger things, but just to give us an idea, because I've never pledged a sorority, what was one of the heinous things that they did that makes your experience remember it just so hard?
As an active, it was mainly like they would be super loud at night, and we'd be trying to go to sleep, and we all had to live on the same floor. Like, unless you wanted to pay the fine, Carthage does not have houses. We don't have Greek Row. They have like unofficial houses, but all of your floors are inside the dorms. Like, you can walk in, you'll see Greek letters. I mean, you're on somebody's floor. So we had to live, and so we all lived by each other. I remember calling security on them one night because I was like, I cannot sleep. They're screaming. Can you please stop them? They were laughing at security, and then they were running down they ran down the hallway, and they started like pounding on my door to trigger my PTSD, knowing that they knew about it from when we had to there were some bonding experiences during pledging that we did, like we told stuff about ourselves.
Yeah, a bonding exercise, and
yes.
They used it against you.
They used it against me. I walked in, I walked down the hallway one day, and somebody had their door open, and I heard them talking shit about me. And it was bad. And I think it just escalated that they wanted me to deactivate before, because I was planning on my second semester, my second year of transferring. So I think they wanted me to deactivate before I transferred, because the way it worked is even if you transferred, even if it was local, you still kept your letters. You still were forever.
So they didn't want you to go to another house, enjoy that experience, and still be part of it.
Not necessarily because is being local, this was the only chapter.
Okay.
We still got to keep our letters. We could come back and visit. We could still jump in on chapter meetings, on pledge meetings. We still were a forever member.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
They wanted to make sure you couldn't utilize them at all. That's why.
Yeah, they didn't. They wanted my legacy to die right then and there because they didn't like me. And it was
deactivate.
I was forced to deactivate because when I ended up attempting suicide for the first time, when I got let out of the hospital, I finally got my phone back. I turned it on and I got a text from the secretary, who since then I talked to a couple girls who were in there because not all of them were involved with it. Mm-hmm. She's like, "We think it's in your best interest that you deactivate. Please return all your letters."
Wow. Well, shortly after that, I'm sure you left the school altogether.
Yeah. I was wanting to withdraw shortly before I attempted suicide because it happened while I was at school. My mom was just very adamant, and I do not blame her. This is not her fault. She was just adamant about me finishing the semester out.
Yeah.
I
think I would have done the same thing to my son. I think that goes down to like a parent wanting you not to be bullied out of something that you want, because in the future you always are trying to prepare them for like the next challenge. And if you bail out at this one, what's going to happen at the next time that this happens? So
and I had been going through a bad breakup then also. So she thought it was just that. And my mom, bless her, as bad as it sounds, her growing up with me, she didn't know if this was just dramatics or making a rash decision or whatnot. She felt horrible after she got a call from me in the hospital.
I was going to say, with you trying to suicide at school, they had to call your mom and tell her that this is all happening.
Yeah. And I had made comments before that had triggered some people in my sorority to let our RA know. So I had gone through counseling through the school before. So the school was really well aware of what my sorority was doing, and the school never did anything about it. But I got out. We had to come back to the school finally to move me out. And those girls verbally attacked my mother and me to the point that the cops had to be called. Like literally, like my mom.
This is why I say girls are so mean to each other. This is exactly why I say this. This is right here.
And one of them just ran for the Illinois Senate. Wow. Yeah, that brought up some memories of like horrible memories of like, you're promoting this, and if you only knew, like, she was in my mom's face screaming that she was going to kick her ass, and that telling me how much of
what an adult like this, because your mom is an adult. So
yeah, and my mom wasn't standing down. She just pushed me back in my dorm and closed the door and was protecting me.
Yeah. That is horrible. Your kudos to your mom, because I think I would have snapped, and I would have had some sorority girls snatched up by their.
My RA was in her room crying because she couldn't handle it. The school finally put them under, I think, some sort of, they ended up getting investigated because of it, because I finally told them what had happened and whatnot. I can say that their pledging process, there's no hazing in their pledging process. I would have dropped if there was hazing in the pledging process. If doing wall sits means doing a wall sit because of getting
there's the normal stuff. It's the ones that are going to leave the person scarred or leave them having emotional or physical scarring that I have a problem with. I know you have to kind of have to like be a little bit of like the hazing, but not to the point
Yeah,
where you're
it's
permanently damaged. Not at all.
no. This was ridiculous.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Hannah, like, because I know you a little bit differently on a personal basis. I think you're a very sweet person. You're always one of the first people to respond to like my texts or my emails. You're like, yay, I'll get on it. So with that being said, I feel like you developed into a pretty well-rounded. You're very popular in the sense that you have a lot of friends now, at least in the Pinup community that I see. Do you think with all this that you went through in the past has been able to allow you to be who you are now? Or do you think you still had more growing to do even after that?
I had a lot more growing. A lot. That was
growing experience.
After I got out of school, like left, that was just the start of, excuse me one more time. That was honestly, I feel like that was the catalyst, and that started a lot of mental health issues for a couple of years.
Now remember, guys, she went through all of this in college without being medicated. So it's already a horrible experience. And now, on top of that, she has nothing to help her stabilize anything that she's going through, too.
And now that I'm out of, I was in the hospital, I was put on meds for the first time in many, many years.
Okay.
I stayed on them for a while. I went to counseling. I ended up stopped taking them because I felt better, you know, the stereotypical, I feel better.
I feel better. I can stop now. Yeah.
I can stop taking them.
Never a good idea, guys. Never a good idea.
It's never a good idea. That means they're working, and so you need to keep taking them.
Yes.
And so I think started at home getting bad. My mom and I fought all the time. I ended up trying to commit suicide again. I think it was a mix of depression and mania at the same time. That one wasn't as serious. All suicide attempts are serious.
They're all serious.
But
I know what you mean. I know what you mean by what you're saying. Yeah.
Was in the hospital again. Changed up my meds again. Went home again. Was good for a while. Went out of control again. And at this point in time, I'm going to be honest, I was, you know, spending really bad money I didn't have.
That's the
manic. It's really embarrassing. I was sexually out of control. And I've never really admitted that to anybody but John, but I think it's something that people need to know that this happens.
Yeah.
It's not a very pretty part of bipolar disorder. Nope. I will say I probably am lucky to be alive, or that something bad didn't happen to me.
Yeah. Just to give you guys another backstory on bipolar disorder, a lot of, not to give teachers a pass that have sexually had intercourse with their students, but a lot of those women, when they go back and they actually do mental health evaluations, a lot of these women actually have bipolar disorder. It lowers your inhibitions. It makes you a little bit more freer with your body and your spirit. And even though at the time you feel good about it, it's after you come off of that mania that you're like, what did I just do? So it's truly something that you really can't control. A lot of people will be like, oh, just close your legs, don't do it. It's not like that. It's actually a chemical in the brain that censors that part that makes you do those things. So even when you know it's not right, it's still sometimes you can't control what is going to happen. So,
and I'm very one of those very sex positive people, but from that it's caused me a lot of shame to myself that I've had to work through. Mm-hmm. And I remember reckless, like when I first turned 21, I'm not like this now. When I first turned 21, I was a little bit overindulging in drinking, but I don't think it was almost to a point of a problem. I've always been very well aware of what happened to my father, and that could happen to me very easily.
Yeah, we have
never had a desire to do drugs, but I remember overindulging for like a year after turning 21, and then realizing, you know, I need to stop that. But I've always been like, the money has always been an issue with me.
I have gambling. I don't spend a lot, but if you get me to gamble, that's a problem.
I'll spend everything and then be like, I don't know what just happened. And
you have to feel that high. It's a high.
Yeah, it's when you're high and you spend money and you're happy, and then you hit it, and yeah.
And then I've never buyer's remorse where you're like, what did I do?
And I've never been like the violent person when I've been manic or anything. I can get really angry and start yelling, but I've never been the person that will. I think that's another big misconception with people who are bipolar. Some people are violent, but I'm not one of them. I'll more or less sit there and cry after I'm done yelling and be very ashamed of what I just did.
There's actually two different forms. There's more than probably two, but the ones I was taught were there are people that are going to be self-inflicting, and there's going to be people that outward afflict. So there's going to be the people that get angry and are violent or angry toward others, and there's a lot of people that actually bipolar that self-inflict. So we shame ourselves, we put ourselves down, we're more like weepy, emotional. There's two different kinds. There's not always the one side to every, situation.
Which leads me to the worst suicide attempt I had. My stepdad and I had gotten into a huge fight over something. I couldn't even tell you what it is now, but he was going to try to kick me out, and we got into a huge fight screaming, and I ended up just sitting in the middle of the kitchen and trying and like taking a whole bunch of my pills at once. My sisters called 911. I remember a cop sticking his finger in my mouth and forcing me to spit out pills. That cop could have saved my life or saved me from doing internal damage.
Yep. And if you guys caught it, this happened in front of her little sisters, which I know we talked about before, that she feels really god awful that happened in front of them, because I'm sure that could have left them with a little bit of post-traumatic stress too, to see their sister do this. But when you're in this state of mind, you're not thinking of anything except for how you just want it to be done and over. So
then that's where I was at. I'm like, I want to escape this situation. One, I felt like there's no escape from the screaming in the situation. There was no escape from me.
Right.
And then all I remember really is starting to be like getting on. They let me walk onto the ambulance. And they started an IV, and then I get to the hospital. I remember crying for my mom getting there. And then I started going in and out of like drugginess. And I remember them sitting me up and them trying to get me to drink my liquid charcoal, which is nasty, and 10 out of 10. Do not recommend having to drink charcoal. And then I don't remember much other than waking up a couple of times in the ICU and then like taking arterial blood, which really hurts. And my mom feeding me a Snicker and her being really, really scared because like my blood pressure and stuff kept dropping a little bit.
And then, the medicine.
Mm-hmm. And then I woke up in an actual patient room and being like angry because there was someone in there having to babysit me. And then when I was up, that was the one where my mom was trying to get me to sign over like my power of attorney and stuff to her. And I was really angry about it, and I didn't want to talk to her for like a week, and I like refused to have her come visit me in the hospital because I thought she was just going to try to have me.
Yeah, you felt like your freedom was going to be taken.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Yep.
So
I think how old are you at this point when this happened?
I'm 29. Oh, at that point, want to say I was 21 or 22. Leaning more towards closer to 22.
No, was this the time when we talked that they finally, I think, got a good regiment from this hospital stay? No.
I had one more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I had been living at my grandparents' then, because after this, the bad one, my mom said I had to move out, and my grandparents took me in, and my grandma kept a really good eye on me. And like, she made sure I took my meds. She made sure all of this and that. I started going back to school at that point in time. I had a job. Somehow I started falling through the cracks on my medication, because my meds at that point in time, I was on Depakote and Celexa, which the Depakote made me gain, I want to say.
Yes, the one that made you gain the weight.
Yeah, I went from, I was very uncoordinated, lost coordination. I was well over 200 pounds within a few months. I lost hair. The Celexa made me nauseous. I had vertigo all the time. Another one I was on, I had to have someone help me hold my microscope at school because I had tremors so bad.
Oh,
I was on a side effect medication for people with Parkinson's disease. The doctor the doctor I had at the time was just like, well, you just have to deal with it. I don't have that doctor anymore.
Well, I was going to say, doctors would never say that. They would always try to, if a doctor.
Other people have issues with him like that.
Right, I was going to say, if a doctor ever tells you just to deal with something, it's time to get a new doctor because.
Yeah. That was when I started, that's when I started quietly not taking my meds, and things started getting bad, and my uncles and I got into a fight at my grandma's house, and things escalated. I did swallow some pills, and then I also, when the cops got there, I swallowed some, and then I just opened my mouth and went and was like, I'm going to kill myself, just so they'd push me out of the house. So it was sort of an attempt, and also I was like, get me out now.
Because you now know if you do that, what the next step will be. You'll get hospitalized, and you'll get in the situation.
Because I knew I'd get put on a 5150.
Yep.
I know how it works.
Yep. So you use wisdom and your advantage at that point to get out of a bad situation.
Yeah. And so like they had to monitor me because I had obviously taken more pills than I should have. So it was like they had to label it as an attempt, which in my mind, probably was very stupid to do that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was stupid. I think every time that someone tells me a story like that and they say like, oh, it was stupid, I want to say that I don't think it was stupid. I feel like you were like backed against the wall, and I don't think you knew what else you could do to get out of that corner. And even if the corner is just getting out of that house or out of that relationship or out of that situation itself, sometimes you get so desperate that you do desperate things. And that's just what I feel like.
And I also felt like, because I was very unstable, that even if I went to the hospital and said, I think I need to go in the hospital, they were not going to let me because I was not suicidal.
Right. And you were very right. They might not have. So
I felt like it was, okay, I have to do something drastic to
get the help I need.
Get me out of this situation, because my mom's not going to let me go home. I can't stay here. And so I'm going to risk my life and whatnot. And so here we go. And then I ended up, because our local one did not have beds, I ended up having to go 2 hours south and got stuck in that. Yeah, I got stuck in a facility that was not where I needed to be. It was really kind of scary. I ended up having to sign a 3-day because I had a doctor there that told me, because I had asked for Ativan, because I was around some patients that were a lot higher care than me that were giving me really bad anxiety. Like a poor woman with schizophrenic was getting in my face and screaming. Now, you can't really expect someone not to get anxiety from that.
Yeah.
He told me that if I needed Ativan like that I don't need to be let out. I have to be able to survive life without anxiety medication. And he was not very keen on the fact that I had a list of medications that I did not want to take. Like I listed off all the heavy antipsychotics I refused to take, because I was advocating for myself. I'm like, I'm not taking this one, I'm not taking this one and that one. And was like, no, I had an adverse reaction to that one. And he was not a very happy man with me. He would only see us, as patients started timing him, he would see us for like 90 seconds. It was horrible.
Those facilities can be more damaging sometimes than good.
The one that was in my hometown area was actually better for it being a little podunk little hospital where your nurses would be assigned to you, and they would take time out of their day to come sit with you for like 45 minutes and talk to you if you needed them.
That's awesome.
Whereas this one, the nurses just looked more
They're like cattle. You just get ushered in.
And the nurses looked more like they were inconvenienced to do their job. I got told by the nurse that if we can't get your blood today, then you can't be discharged on this day. As I'm warning her that I have really small veins and they roll, you need to take it out of my hand. She would not listen to me. And then she finally did. She's like, oh, I should have done that the first time. Like, I've been getting my blood drawn since I was 7 years old.
Right. So, okay, so this is like around what, 24, 25?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
So I know you're 29 now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So not to like rush the story along, because I'm sure you have so much more to
oh, yeah.
But now at 29, you had that stint in the hospital, which was not a very good one. Can I just ask, did they get you on a good regimen at that point?
No.
So then you got out of this situation, still not being on the correct medicine. When did you finally have a doctor that hit it on the head of the right combination of what you needed?
I would say about a year after that, I had moved into my own apartment. Shortly after that, I had no choice but to. I found a doctor, and I'm still with this doctor. He listened to me. I had done my own independent research.
Okay.
And he's like, okay, we'll try it. And he's like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll try another one.
So this is basically from what your research was and what you did to advocate for yourself to get you on the right course of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That should tell people that are listening, you are your best advocate, because sometimes it causes you to have to fight harder than what you really should have to, but it does pay off, because as you see, Hannah is here today. I know you might have your bad days still. I'm not going to sit there and say like everything.
No, I still do.
Right. But you're in a lot better of a situation because you just took the bull by his horn and you advocated for yourself. And that is something that a lot of patients don't know that they can't even do. A lot of patients feel like they got to sit there and just take it. You do not have to.
You don't. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, if it's not working for you, you just open your mouth. And if your doctor's fighting you on it, you need a new doctor.
Yep, exactly. Listen to Hannah. A lot of patients do not know that. You have rights as a patient. Just because you're in a hospital doesn't mean you got to take what they give you. Do what they say. You are your own individual person. Unless you are literally there because you're in jail and you're locked up, you still have freedom and you still have rights. So
there's an option. There's so many options. Like, there's something, if it's not working for you, if like the side effects are horrible, or you really are not, like, if you're really not digging a side effect or something, there's something else that you can take. You just don't need to pacify it with a pill for the side effect. Like,
you don't need to just suffer in silence either.
Mm-hmm. And if someone is threatening to keep you in a hospital longer, then because of it, that doesn't mean you're being non-compliant with your medication. You are asking for an alternative. That is not meaning non-compliant.
There is a difference. Yes, there is a difference between being non-compliant and just wanting something that works better for you. That is a difference.
And that is a good reason to want to sign a 3-day in a mental institution, which a 3-day is, they can let you out in 72 hours if you are safe enough for yourself, or they can refuse you and keep you longer. But like, that's a good reason. If a doctor is refusing to listen to you for reasons of like that, like, you're not asking much for being like, I don't want this because of this. Right. If you're just hands down refusing meds for no apparent reason, then you are being non-compliant.
Yeah. I'm glad that you made the distinguish of the difference, because there is a difference. So when was it, now we can get into happier days, when was it that you got introduced into the pinup community?
2013, December 2013, I want to say. I did a photo shoot.
And how old are you at this point?
2013 would mean I am 23, 24, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah. And how did that photo shoot go?
It was fun. The person was not a pinup photographer. She's not a very nice person now, I come to find out, but it was a good experience. It got my foot in the door, my juices
flowing a little bit.
Yeah. I've always loved the pinup style, the rockabilly style. I've always been kind of intrigued by it ever since I was little.
Mm-hmm.
So I started that. I did shoots for a very, very long time. I didn't actually do a pinup contest until I want to say the summer of 2015.
And what contest was that?
The Miss Meltdown Drags contest at the Meltdown Drag Races, which sadly they don't do anymore. Yeah, it's really sad. It's actually was one of my favorite events. Did not go as smoothly as I thought it would go.
I love this question. How non-smooth did it go for you, Hannah?
In retrospect to what now, I would probably say not smooth at all, but that's just me being a perfectionist. I had a dress that was too big on. My hair looked good because my friend did it for me. My makeup looked fine. It was hot. Like, knowing that drag strip now, I was not ready for it. Like, it was, oh God, it was over 100 degrees that whole day, and I was in like almost a satiny dress the whole day at a petticoat.
Oh
yeah.
No.
I was not ready for that.
Oh gosh.
Not at all.
Let me ask you, how was it because I remember my first experience. How was it your first experience meeting all the other girls, like meeting that group of ladies?
It was fun. The Meltdown Drags girls are a lot different, as a lot of them are part of like teams as pit crew, or a couple of them race themselves.
Okay.
So I've met, like, I believe one or two of them. Jenna Sue won that year. Jenna Sue won that year. My first contest, that was the year she won Miss Meltdown Drags. It was a little intimidating at first because you see like her and she's just so like beautiful. And there's another gal who's sweet. Her name's Cassandra, and she's a backup girl, and she's gorgeous, Southern Belle, beautiful. And so you're like,
it's kind of intimidating, right?
Yeah, you're like, okay. Well, like, I thought I looked good. And then I come in and you're like, okay, I guess not.
I'm gonna sit my ass over here because I obviously came to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Well, I know now personally you've taken home many titles, and you are not so smooth. You're now very smooth and kind of like a little bit of a veteran in the scene. So what was your favorite title that you ever won, Hannah? I love it when they have to think. That means that there's been so many.
Because I told you I have them all up here, so I'm like looking.
And I have a picture of this wall with all her sashes. It's really cool how she has them displayed.
It's really hard, actually. I love them all for different reasons.
Okay, so which one was the one that you might... Now, I know the story you told me where you advocated for another woman to win. Like, you cold-heartedly, you spent a 5-minute speech saying why someone else should win. And then it turned around where you still won that one. What contest was that?
That was at Fire in the Hills. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the year. 2018.
You're getting old there, Hannah?
I'm losing my years. And that was the Miss Firecracker contest. Revelyn Vixen. That is her show, her heart and soul, her first ever contest. It's the only show she ever has wanted to win. She said that she would consider even retirement if she ever won it. She's gotten like so close. We can joke that she had been the Susan Lucci of Fire in the Hills, like so close, and then not get it for like multiple years. On the way up, Holly Rose and I and my fiance were in the car. I had said that if I get top 3, which top 3 at Fire in the Hills means you are placing. Like, they don't do top 5, top 10. Well, they do top 10, but they don't like then condense it to top 5. They condense it to top 3. So that means you're placing.
You just don't know if you're 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, they do. They break it down to 1, 2, or 3. But like at that point, I'm like, I had told them, I'm like, I'm gonna tell them I want Nicole to win because I'm okay with placing whatever. Like, if I win, I win. If I place, it's fine. Like, I'm doing this for fun. My fun, I'm going to have even more fun when we're done because I'm going to get to drink and have fun. So, like, I got it, and I told them a million reasons of why Nicole should be Miss Firecracker instead of me, and it was a very awkward crowning and very silent crowning, and there's some awkward pictures of me holding my 50-pound trophy of not understanding what was going on because I had a crown on my head and that was not how it was supposed to go.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think that that's such an endearing story just because I feel like for the young girls that are out there that are thinking of coming into this community, this is like a true depiction of like what this community can mean when it's at the top of its peak of being the excellent society community that it can be. Things like that. Women that are so like, I know how much this means to this contestant. And yes, would I like to win? Sure. But they really, really want it. And I'm willing to sacrifice whatever I could get to make sure that they get this. That is such a true depiction of this community and how the women can be so amazing and supportive. They make sure that your slip isn't showing, your bra isn't showing. Like they do that because you are going to represent us as a whole, not just you and the element. So I wanted her to tell that story because first of all, I think it's adorable. And I think that that really shows how the community as women can come together and really be there for each other instead of being the catty, talking behind each other's back, calling each other's names and being really nasty. So that's why I love that story because I feel like it's a real, it's real and I like it. There's another big moment in your pinup career that I want you to share. I think you know where I'm going with this. Someone got the cutest proposal in the world. And what contest was that at?
2018. Oh my God, there we go with dates again. I'm forgetting the year I got engaged. May 2018 at Vintage Torque Fest during the All-Star contest. I was called up for a special award. I was eliminated in the first round actually by the contestant that went on to win because we did head-to-head posing. It was cool. But yeah, got called up for a special award. And my special award was my fiance, and he came out and proposed to me on stage in front of everyone and my friends and the audience. And I have like,
ooh, I get goosebumps every time.
I have obviously a video, but I have hundreds of pictures of it like all around the stage. And I think, although I love obviously the pictures of him proposing to me, I more or less love the pictures of every single one of my friends' faces, of the progression of people jumping up and down or because they're like, he's doing it.
Finally. He's doing it. And Vintage Torque Fest, for people that don't know, that's a huge contest. It's a huge contest. And every year I feel like it gets bigger and bigger. So for her to get proposed to in front of this massive audience is a pretty big deal to make a statement of love that grand.
He knew that I always wanted to be proposed to at a pinup contest.
So he made your dream come true.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. And it was a good contest to do that because like I said, it's a big one. Yeah. So what's his name?
John.
John, okay. And you guys are getting married in what year? Do you know the dates yet or no?
We're supposed to get married in October, but we are pretty sure we're going to be postponing it to 2020 in October of next year.
I'm sorry. Yes, this pandemic is kind of making a lot of people's plans kind of womp womp.
Yeah. So we're kind of at peace with it because I would.
It just gives you more time to make it more perfect.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be able to have everybody there. We may may still get married in October, but.
And then have like a big party afterwards. That's what a lot of people did this year. They had like the intimate small, like just their witnesses and like the judge or the preacher, and then they're going to have like a big shindig when all this is over. Well, I hope I get an invite because I would totally love to see you guys tie the knot or have your big party. This is a great place to transition right into your pearls of wisdom because I think you're in a good space in your life right now. And you're beautiful. You're absolutely beautiful soul. I know that sometimes everybody is misunderstood. And sometimes people cannot understand someone's story or journey.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. So this is why I do this series, because a lot of these girls have a story or a journey that has led them to be the people that they are now. And other people don't see that part. All they see is the finished product. And I kind of want to highlight how this finished product got to this point. And now Hannah's going to share with us her pearls of wisdom that she has acquired over the years.
Always be yourself and don't be afraid to stand alone. Even, I just messed that up. Let me try that again.
Take two. Go ahead.
Take two. Be yourself even if it means standing alone. Because sometimes people are not going to like what you have to say, but you always should just be true to yourself. Don't change for anybody.
That is excellent. And just to kind of piggyback on that, just because like I said, I've gotten to know her now. She does stand alone, and she stands with like a good group of girls too. So even though she's had moments where she's had to stand alone, she's got a lot of good girls that back her up and say that she's a good person and that, you know, she's a good apple. Don't mean that she can't be harsh sometimes. I know everybody's got it in them.
I come off harsh sometimes. My resting bitch face gets the best of me.
I know, girl. I got one of those too. I better smile. If people don't know if I'm coming or going if I don't smile.
My bluntness gets the best of me sometimes too. I have to reel it back that I'm just like, cut it. But as I said, I'd rather be myself than be an authentic version of myself. And if being blunt is part of my authentic self, then I try not to be hurtful in my bluntness. I do tell people that if I do come off hurtful, please let me know. Because sometimes my sarcastic self, I don't realize it.
Pick it up.
And
that's why it's good to be aware of your own behaviors too, and taking accountability and knowing that, okay, I know a lot of these times I don't mean to come across like that, but just because you don't mean it doesn't mean that you don't recognize it and take ownership of it.
Yeah, so, I take very much ownership. That's the part of it in life and being an adult.
Yeah, and that's what makes me like your story over people that are like, well, I don't know what they're talking about. It's like, no, I mean, yes, I can sometimes be harsh. I can be sometimes just a straight up bitch. But I know that. And once I have somebody, especially if they bring it to me, especially if they come like, hey, you know, I didn't like the way you talked to me. It was kind of like harsh or abrasive. I will actually be like, you know what? I was having a bad day that day, or I'm so sorry. Like, that's not how I meant it. And I will be very, you know, apologetic because I don't mean to come across like that. And sometimes
I always come to people with my issues. I try to be very, very upfront and open if you hurt me. Even if you might think I'm being over dramatic, I'm still going to be very, very.
No, that's the right way to do it. I hate people that sit and stew and they just fester how they're angry or something. I'd rather you just bring it to me at that moment. Tell me how you're feeling. We talk it out. We work through it, and then we'll move on. And we might move on as friends, or we might move on as like we're frenemies now. Like we're going to be cordial when we're together, but we're not like buddy. It's okay. Everybody doesn't have to be your friend, you know?
Exactly. Like, not everybody has to be best friends. That's not how life works. That's not how personalities work.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, some people are just not going to like you. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's just, some people just don't click. Some people don't mesh. So it's just what it is. So, that's my biggest pearl that I took away from you, besides what you said, is just knowing someone's story, knowing someone's back history might give you a little bit more of an insight of how and why someone does or says or behaves the way that they do. So just remember, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
You have to read the story first.
Yeah.
Before you can make judgments. All right. So thank you so much again, Hannah, for
Thank
joining
you.
me. This has been a pleasure. If you guys have any questions for Hannah, or if you just want to tell her how beautiful she is, just drop a comment down below. And before you guys go, say like, subscribe. And I will see you guys around the bend with another Pinup Beauty. Bye.
Bye.